Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dr. Fantastic Interviews. I've got a fantastic guest this morning, Leslee Cook, marriage family therapist. But let me set the scene. She's sitting at her home in beautiful Topanga Canyon, a magnificent spot on the planet, and I'm sitting on top of what's called the Spruce Street Suspension Bridge, about 100 feet above ground. My feet are dangling over the side on this beautiful suspension bridge. It's a gorgeous day down here in San Diego. And Leslee, as you know, this show brings you information and technology that will help improve your mind, your body, and the planet. And it's a great forum for people to express their opinions and their ideas of what's going on in the world. And Leslee has a fantastic written speech that she'd like to deliver. And Leslee, tell us all about it.
Okay, thank you, dear brother. If your audience couldn't tell, we have the same last name. Yes, thank you for asking me to share this moment in time. I felt as a therapist, I work to help people feel better, and this time that we're quarantined at home is very scary, and we don't know who to believe, what to believe. And so I started taking a few days to write this from all of my years of experience. So, dear friends, did you watch the video that I sent you about this Christian pastor who is exposing some information that you don't get on national networks? Okay, breathe and feel into your heart right now. Take time to center yourself. Feel into your heart area. Think of someone you love or someone who loves you. That sensation, you'll notice, registers in your heart area. Our hearts are the only real truth barometer that we'll ever need to discern right from wrong. We all need to learn to trust our heart to help us make the right choices, to help us recognize our highest truths. As you know, love is the highest vibration. Love is the strongest force in the universe. It always wins in the end. And everything goes back to however it all started, right? Whatever we call that, the universe, God, whatever you want to call that, which everything comes from is love. We, the 99% of the 7.5 billion of us, are the majority. The majority can waken and decide the rules to guide our humanity. This is big. We don't need religion or governments to tell us how to behave. We have the knowledge by just tuning in and asking our hearts. I believe that we are being asked at this moment in time to think for ourselves about this virus. We, the majority, can come together as a community, global community, if we are willing to open our hearts and recognize our interconnectedness with all other humans and the biosphere. We learn our facts from the media, but the media is controlled by those who own it. We have been made to fear those who look different from us or who have different values. Yet we humans all seem to want the same things from life: healthy food, clean water, shelter, education, medical care, and to have the luxury to be surrounded by a loving community, or at least a friendly community. This pastor is sharing some unbelievably shocking information. How will you know what is the truth? What is the right choice for you? After you do some research on what you're hearing, whether it's from this source or that source, make the time to sit quietly and ask your heart. Give it time. Imagine breathing in and out from the heart area, sitting with yourself, and then waiting and listening. What is the truth? And how can you move forward? It's vitally important that you become conscious of the power within this energy, this focus, our thoughts. You see, Homo sapiens evolved by focusing our attention and remembering all the scary things and events from the past, like saber-toothed tigers and grizzly bears and wolves in order to predict the future, so we will be safe. There's a grizzly over there. There's a saber-tooth over there. In a nutshell, our brains have not evolved that far from those days of escaping man-eating predators. Homo sapiens genes survived when silly Homo erectus wasn't paying attention while munching those berries, and those genes didn't survive. They were gobbled up by the predators. But Homo sapiens sapiens, our genes survived. So now, then in the late 20th century, neuroscience discovered that we Homo sapiens brains have not evolved as far as we had hoped. You see, our oldest brain, the fight, flight, freeze brain stem, the reptilian survival brain, always comes on before the later brain, the executive functioning neocortex brain, which normally guides us. So we're hardwired to always first check for safety and worry about the fearful future outcomes. That survival brain is awakened and programmed, especially during those first 3 years of life, before language has developed. So our brains are wide open and easily programmed. That survival brain is programmed by our caregivers who gave us the best they could, but they have experienced some stuff from their childhood. And so if as innocent children we might have been traumatized or frightened, abandoned, neglected, due to the fact that our parents were perhaps traumatized from a war, a famine, genocide, slavery, or their grandparent had been traumatized during World War II, suffered from the Depression. And so they were probably not fully without their own defenses, and sometimes unable to provide a safe and nurturing environment for their children and their children's children, have evolved from those parents. So, since Homo sapiens' brain is more easily activated to those unsafe or fearful events, the adult is more sensitive to expecting a harsh, fearful, dangerous future. Yet neuroscience has also discovered that if we become aware of our anxious thoughts and our negative expectations, which, as my brother explains, produces cortisol, a stress hormone, then we can instead decide, as my brother says, to change our thoughts and be more kind and civil by recalling moments in our life and times when we felt safe. See, that's the key. To change this, we have to remember when we did feel safe and secure. And then our bodies can produce those good hormones, the endorphins, the feel-good hormones, which also helps us to think more calmly and make better, less reactive decisions. In addition, by becoming aware and changing our focus, we will eventually, this is the good news, we will eventually reprogram our earlier neuronal networks, which will better serve our more competent adult needs, since we are no longer those helpless and dependent children. Our brains are now rewired to remember our empowered, capable adult self, and can more easily set boundaries and speak up for our needs and our concerns. Were you aware that your thoughts are a powerful yet invisible, energetic field within the field of time and space? Had you heard about that yet? That's called quantum physics. Our thoughts are energetic waves of frequencies called alpha, beta, theta, delta. And they cannot be detected by our five senses. You can't smell it, see it, taste it, feel it, or hear it. But quantum physics research now explains that those very thoughts and feelings, or more, even stronger thoughts, are a field of energy that can influence and attract into our future whatever we focus on, be it good or bad. Our thoughts become even more powerful when they're felt strongly as emotions. Now, will you just try to consider this? We, the 99% of humanity, we, the 7.5 billion Homo sapiens, are the majority, not the 1% that's been ruling us and indoctrinating us and educating us since 2700 BCE. Originally, we had no ways to work together across continents. We expected our religious leaders and governments to be working for us, protecting us, helping us to get along, working for our nations. Otherwise, others will take our liberties away. But if we are paying attention now, we can see that there is great corruption within the governing structures of the world. And we, the majority, must now begin to question and research what we are being spoon-fed with the 24/7 news snippets. Try to find independent news revealing the whole discussion or talk, not just snippets and interpretations of the conversation, so we can make up our own minds about important, threatening topics. Disparaging people using derogatory terms is the first step towards the herd mentality of us versus them. If conspiracy theorists are so wrong, then why won't the communication masses allow them airtime to present their data, such as Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on his website, citizenshealthdefense.org? Especially here in America, I thought we still had our First Amendment. We have a right to express our opinion as long as it doesn't hurt anyone. If it hurts big business, well, that isn't a person. That's a corporation. We, the majority, have the right to have access to listen and read all the facts around the issues affecting our health and our lives. Then we can make an educated decision, but only after listening to both sides of the issue before coming to our own conclusions. It's a fact that the majority of communication media is owned by the elite 1%. Our facts are being dictated by the corporations that are benefiting from the perspective that they want us to hear. Otherwise, we would be able to hear both sides of an issue expressed by the speaker, not by a news correspondent reading from the teleprompters. So, now, will you even try to imagine, here we go, the majority of us deciding by listening to our own hearts, choosing to peacefully adapt our accustomed daily life habits, kind of just like we've been doing for the past 3 months during the coronavirus, in order that the majority of humanity, not the ruling 1%, can enjoy a happier, healthy, more fulfilling life. As we explore and really learn more about this virus by many different independent experts, not just those funded by the CDC and the WHO, the only barometer we can trust is our own heart. If we get the opportunity to listen to the complete discussion, not pieces cut off due to time constraints for more commercials, if we are allowed to listen to differing viewpoints, then we have more information and can make our own independent decision. Then sit with yourself and listen within and ask your heart to give you a sense of what is the right choice for our greater good, for all of humanity, and for the future generations of humanity. We have not been taught to think in that way about future generations. But we're at that point now where we need to think about that. I believe, given the choice, we will choose to take the higher road. Yes, it will be a sacrifice to leave some of our familiar comforts, but this will be stepping towards a greater, better life for the majority of us. Millions of people are starving every day. Much more than have died from this pandemic. Why is this being rushed ahead without double-blind independent labs researching possible vaccines and other kinds of ways of keeping us strong and healthy? Why aren't we researching why some people have natural immunity to this? What's in their bodies? What do they have that they don't get the virus? Why aren't we studying that too? Why Why are people who have comorbid diseases also being counted as dying from COVID-19? Why not make clearer distinctions? Some people died because they couldn't receive medical treatment due to the hospitals only being allowed to focus on this virus. But why are doctors being told they have to write on the death certificates COVID-19 as if they died from without the previous comorbidity? These are questions we all need to take time to research deeply. Then ask our hearts, what is the responsible choice for the greater good for humanity? Wouldn't you be willing to be a little hungry for a few months while we rebuild the world's distribution structure of food and services so that the greater human family isn't dying of starvation every day? What if we don't have everything which we are used to, like jobs, shopping, schools, kind of like what we're doing now, while we figure out how to count up and then distribute to us 7.5 billion earthlings our fair share of Gaia's bountiful resources, no longer owned by the 1%? Can you allow yourself to imagine that within a short time, maybe a year, a little more, our global citizenry, using creative technology, can design a transparent global economical payment system, offering a payment plan for each global citizen which will afford them a decent lifestyle with enough food, shelter, education, and medical care forever? I believe we global citizens can decide to collaborate across the globe, sharing our knowledge and resources to those less fortunate, trusting that there is enough for everyone to live a decent life within our budding global society. I trust we technologically more advanced citizens will choose the higher path and step away from our corporate-controlled, brainwashing media sources and instead feel into our humanity, open our hearts, rise from fear-focused Homo sapiens into heart-centered, listen to this, Homo universalis. That's a term quoted by Barbara Marx, M-A-R-X, Hubbard, H-U-B-B-A-R-D. Barbara Marx Hubbard. Look it up, Homo universalis. The pastor in the video that I was sharing is risking his life to give these facts. The time is now to step towards this peaceful transition. We, the majority of humans, can peacefully collaborate and teach our children and future generations that if we follow the golden rule, then we can share this world peacefully, respectfully, and sustainably. We no longer need the top 1% to control our cities, states, countries. No. From now on, we, the 99%, will cooperatively figure out a plan to live peacefully amongst ourselves. We can do it peacefully if we believe we can. Can we each have faith and carry that resonance in our focus, in our heart? We humans can accomplish this transition into a global society relatively smoothly. Yes, some people will die, just like they've done last year, and now we have for thousands of years before. Everyone and everything eventually dies. But how we live our lives is etched upon our souls. Will you choose to take the higher, more compassionate road? Ask your heart. What is the right choice? Do we want our future generations to inherit a healthier, more sustainably viable, peaceful future? We do not need greedy corporate-controlled governments to protect us from harming ourselves. We've been brainwashed to believe that. We can choose to peacefully control our species from killing each other, not as the movies and communications media have portrayed and brainwashed us to believe. We can choose to see each other as members of our human family. After all, every human being wants the same things in life: to be free from domination, to experience enough food to eat, to be surrounded by family and friends, residing in a safe shelter, having medical care, education, with the hope for a positive future. Let's be honest. We don't even question the present theocracy of the market god, which glorifies billionaires who rape the earth with no better argument than enriching their stockholders. The corporation-controlled media celebrates us hypnotized consumers as we proudly contribute to the GDP, knowing our choices are degrading and destroying our ecology in our vain efforts to buy happiness, which we see portrayed every day in the media. Well, as my brother says, this is never scripted, so there goes my phone. This system reveres economic doctrines that are morally and ethically and environmentally just wrong, as if they were dogmas, laws never to be questioned. Dream of national democracy has now vanished. Corrupt governments and the corrupt corporate-controlled communication media owned by the rapist billionaires who have no guilt justifying their profit over health and welfare of our majority of humans and our future generations is here. We, the majority now, can choose to no longer ignore that our dwindling capitalistic democracies of North America and Western Europe are being dismantled by corporate, multinational, capitalistic corporations and international banks, which have bought and controlled the international political and economic institutions in our social, democratic, and communistic societies. Capitalism is a hugely adaptable economic and social development, and it is plausible in our collaboratively designed future global economic and political system that some basic capitalistic elements can exist as long as it's equitable for the majority of humans without destroying our precious life-sustaining ecosystem. Boy, that was a mouthful. So, are you courageous enough to look beyond what the corporate-controlled communication systems are reporting to us 24/7? Instead, reach out to your friends across the globe and discuss these ideas and possibilities with them. We, the 7.5 billion, the majority, we stand united in our oneness. We can step away from being controlled by the corporate elite. We, in the most industrialized societies, can no longer deny our participation in an unjust, greedy, corporate, militant, corporate banking system, putting short-term profit over our future generations' sustainable future. We, the majority, can step away from this system by not participating in this current economic system any longer. We've already been kept in our homes. We're not mostly being able to participate. So now we consciously say this to ourselves. Will we listen to people like this courageous pastor and choose to research the facts for ourselves? We, the majority, can choose to not be what they call sheeple. We don't have to accept that the only way we can survive is if we give total control to a few private corporations who now mandate global vaccination policies without ensuring that medical products are double-blind tested and evaluated by independent, transparent, scientific, and ethically sound research. This dogma is not the only way to manage our global citizenry. The coronavirus has shown that it pays no attention to borders or nationalities. It affects all people. So, our present 2020 civilization has been given this unprecedented opportunity to change our devolving ecological and competitive social structures. We can choose to work together for the highest good for all humanity and the biosphere. We can choose to no longer be ruled by kings, presidents, or fascist dictators, nor corporations funded by private foundations. We can decide a new format of governing ourselves within a new global society, sharing all of Gaia's bounty, living cooperatively and peacefully within an ecologically sustainable ecosystem. Please, breathe into your heart. Feel into our hearts. What is the right choice for the greater good for the whole of humanity? In the 1918 Black Plague, 65 million people died. That's horrible. Yet did you realize that during World War II, 75 million people died? By consciously choosing to open our hearts, to volunteer, to do our part, to create a cooperative, peaceful, global, interconnected civilization, we are evolving our species. Our future generations are calling on us each now to stand up for the truth, to reach out beyond our comfort zones, beyond our national borders. It's time to connect with each other, open our hearts, feel that sense of love and compassion. Send it out to all peoples, all races, all colors, all of humanity, nature, Gaia, the entire Earth's biosystem. Send it out to the Creator, to God, to Goddess, to Buddha, to Christ, to those who you believe in, to the universe, to those who transparently reveal their hearts by helping for the betterment of all of life. Turn a critical mind now to these media outlets, spreading fear, showing us the worst of our species, brainwashing us sheeple to distrust each other, convincing us to believe that there won't be enough for each of us to live on. We have to have the military protect us or they'll break into our homes and steal our little food that we have. We have been indoctrinated, brainwashed to think that it's too late to make huge changes in humanity. That's just a concept that we've unconsciously accepted. Can you imagine no borders of countries, just like Corona's doing? Only continents of earthlings separated by water. We can create a new, more vibrant future for our species and Gaia's biosphere. It will be totally different than what we've been taught through history, through cultural biases, through our religions. There is a new opportunity unfolding before us in this moment in our history of humanity. As we come out of quarantine, will we choose to trust, believe that we, 7.5 billion, can learn to peacefully share the resources of this verdant water planet? The technology of the internet is allowing us to create this global social movement, this transition, very easily. The internet, if we keep it open, can allow us to instantaneously share globally this novel concept that I'm presenting. This idea of trusting our hearts. I'm not the only one presenting this, by the way. This idea of trusting our hearts to open us to what is the right thing to do for the greater good for the whole of our human family. Not our race, our religion, our country, our political point of view. Try to fathom this novel concept of redistributing the remaining of Earth's resources amongst ourselves, the 7.5 billion of us. If enough of us step away from this fear-driven, indoctrinated mindset and stop participating in the established system, which we've been forced to follow while quarantined, then it will fall away. If we peacefully help our neighbor, they can't pull us all in jail. If we spread this heart-centered resonance feeling around the world in one night, we can do it. So please feel into your heart to discover your answer. What is the highest, most honorable, most humane choice before you now? We have the internet. We don't need our corrupt governments run by the elite international corporations and bankers to govern us. We, the majority, can govern us. By the way, did you know there are think tanks right out there now with very brilliant scientists and educators figuring out how we, 7.5 billion, can coexist peacefully? It's just not brought to our attention through the standard elite-controlled media outlets. It won't take too long if we establish a new It won't take too long till we establish this new distribution system. If we all focus from our hearts and believe we can do this peacefully, that we won't starve to death as we work together peacefully. But it starts with faith in humanity. We have to change our thinking. This time now is to open our hearts to the oneness of all species. Nature has proven for 4.5 billion years that evolution only occurs through cooperation. Otherwise, it evolves and dies off. Our Homo sapien experiment has lasted only a mere 300,000 years, a small drop in Earth's timeline. So from this moment now, will you choose to honor and respect all forms of life? Can you grasp the concept that they all deserve the right to exist with clean water, clean air, clean soil, as much as we humans do? Will you choose to evolve as this new race, Homo universalis, revering nature as a reflection of God, choosing to no longer be a slave to the god of money, no longer believing that only our species has a soul, instead choosing to cooperate with each other and to share access and education of modern technologies with all of humanity for the greater good for future generations? Will you make the time to feel into your hearts and bodies, recognizing this extraordinary historical moment in the evolution of our species? For this to be a successful social movement, it must not only be decided by our dominant logical brain, we must include our hearts in this decision-making process. We, 7.5 billion Homo sapiens, the majority, are at a crossroads in our evolution as a species. Are we choosing to remain fear-driven, Homo sapiens needing a father to protect us? Or can we step aside from our corporate-owned communication media indoctrination and sit with ourselves, making time to feel into our hearts, tune into that vibration of love, that resonance of open-heartedness, Christ consciousness, Buddha nature, helping, loving thy neighbor as thyself, frequency, that resonance, that heart-centered focus. From there, make your decision. Now is an unfathomable moment in our more than 9,000 years of written history. It is too astounding, too unbelievable to even want to think about. But one way or another, there's a choice for each of us now. Do we choose to help refrain our societies into a global civilization? Or will we only accept what we're told? Once we start questioning, we will never be able to go back to sleep. I believe that the highest evolutionary path for our species is to create a new global economic system that serves the majority of humans, not just those in the most advanced countries now run by the corporate banking system. We, in the most technologically advanced nation, have access to the internet. We can connect and cooperatively design a new economic system to share with the 7.5 billion of us information, sustenance, technology, medical care, and resources. We, in the most modern cities, will have to sacrifice the most, but we are the most technically advanced. And of course, we have become more accustomed to more worldly comforts. But we are adaptable beings we can quickly learn to remain aware of where we put our focus, our thoughts, and our frequencies. We can grab onto that and focus where we want. Quantum physics has shown us that the future is an empty canvas, and our thoughts can influence the possibility of outcomes just by our focus, our intent. Remember the law of physics, like attracts like. Science shows us that our energetic brain waves, alpha, beta, theta, delta, is a wave of energy, and these waves can influence and attract our expectations, our visions, our hopes, our dreams, or our fears. This transitional future opportunity can manifest in a tranquil manner if we believe it can, and hold that in our daily thoughts, our daily focus. Breathe that in and out from our heart. We can create that. It's wise not to focus on what you don't want or what you're afraid of. Oh, I hope I don't get cancer. That will help to attract it. Instead, see yourself as healthy and strong. See this peaceful global social movement transitioning easily. Listen to those podcasts of those who have nothing to gain but want to uplift and help others without monetary or compensation, without any monetary or compensation. Each of us, whether we are aware of it or not, helps influence that future with our thoughts. Believe, trust, concentrate, focus on what we do want. Are you willing to focus your thoughts, such as, I believe we humans can open our hearts and can allow and try our best to really listen to others, even when we distrust or they have differing opinions.
Leslee?
In order to create a win-win situation for the whole of humanity.
Leslee, I hate to interrupt. We're running out of time on this, but I think everyone agrees with you. I would hope everyone agrees with you. You are one of 255 ambassadors of positivity to the Be Fantastic movement. This resonates with each and every one of the people that have joined. You know, I'm not looking for 255 ambassadors to help change the world. I'm looking for 255 million or 2.5 billion people that think like you. And I want to applaud you for taking the time and energy to write this and share it with the world. I want to add one last thing before we run out of time here. Doug Ivanovich, one of our other ambassadors, as many like you, are writing me these fantastic dissertations on, going towards a new world. And I want to just read real quickly. He just wrote a short one. And he said, the world has been dealt a shock, and humanity has been dealt a shock with the coronavirus pandemic. As we adapt and adjust, and as the dust begins to settle, as we have enough time for self-reflection and clarity, and as we determine, hold on a second, I lost my spot here, and as we determine our course, he says someone, and I'm reading that maybe as Dr. Fantastic, but he says someone has to lead humanity into a new and better world, a new and more inclusive, and a new and more enlightened and cooperative human future, more honest and just, more equitable and sustainable, and embracing the higher principles that rescue us from the alternative, which is people who wish to dominate, exploit, control, and oppress. Not much of an alternative, but we are preparing to do our best to envision the emergence of a new and far better world. Now that sums up what you're saying, but I think everything is summed up in one word: greed.
Right, but Monty, this is the last part that it won't take very long, but
Okay.
It's really important.
Yeah.
Because to make this work, I was saying that we have to change the resources. So I would like everybody to imagine that we share the remaining gold, diamonds, oil, the resources of Gaia. Those can now be given to every earthling, and we have the computer technology that they can create the algorithms to figure out the value of all of that, and then give everyone a number, and everyone gets enough money from these resources to have what I've said, shelter, food, medical care, education, and not have to worry. Now, if they want to write music or save the polar bears, they can do that because they have enough to live on. But if they want to work to clean up the oceans, then they can earn money or whatever. They can use capitalism as long as it doesn't hurt the sustainability for future generations. But can you imagine that's how the new world will live, where the resources are redistributed to everybody. Everybody, because they're alive, gets these enough to survive, and then if they want to work and do more, they can. But if they just want to raise their children, homeschool, they can do that without worrying. You don't have to sit behind a desk at a job you hate anymore. This is the 21st century. You don't have to work in order to survive, but we don't need the government doling out a little bit of money to stay in the same system. Do you get it? That's what I wanted to end with.
Well, I wish you hadn't thrown that in, because you were really brilliant up to that point. I mean, not to be critical or anything, but that would not work. Here's what would work: the barter system. Fiji just went back onto the barter system because of the COVID-19 problem.
Who did?
The country of Fiji went back to the barter system because the money's no good there and they can't work. So they're trading the 3 chickens for some gasoline for their generator or whatever. And the barter system is what we all have. We all have a talent. You write a poem, I'll trade you this poem for a loaf of bread. So believe me, Leslee, I'm sorry to say it, but what you just said at the end of distributing the wealth is never going to work. That can't work physically. And everyone will have to be on the same page. And there's too much greed, Leslee. You're fighting greed. We all are fighting greed.
And knowing that we can change it. That's the only way. We move into Homo universalis.
Right.
We have to move
sharing the
together.
diamonds and the gold. That's not going to cut it. But anyway, I'm glad you put it out there. Maybe I'm wrong, and I've been wrong before. But the whole point is, I'm happy to have you. We're coming down to where they're going to shut us off here. There's only a certain time limit on this program. But I love the fact that you want to make a change, and that there is a change that's needed. Many of my ambassadors are in the same mindset of being kind, considerate, friendly, polite, civil. Everyone is the commonality of everyone on the planet today is that they're going to be asked how they are every single day, today and for the rest of their lives. If you start saying that you're fantastic, even if you're not, you're going to spread positivity. You're going to spread energy. It's an energy word that releases the endorphins, the dopamine, and the serotonin in your brain that makes other people feel fantastic. It makes you feel fantastic. The smile makes you look fantastic, and the smile reduces stress. It's a known medical fact that smiling and laughing reduces stress. We're in a stressful situation. Stress is all your fault. People, join the Be Fantastic movement. You'll live longer. You'll be happier. You'll never be forgotten. You'll do better in business. And thank you, Leslee, for being an ambassador. Everybody, we don't need 255 as we have today. We need 2.5 billion people thinking like Leslee, like Doug, like Dr. Fantastic, and the others that are a part of this fantastic movement. Send me an email to drfantastic@BeFantasticToday. And it's free to join. Just delete the word good. Be kind to others. Be kind to yourself. Love one another. And we'll get through it as we have gotten through many things in history. Everybody, thank you. Thank you, Leslee, for being part of the show. Good night, everyone.